Good afternoon, baseball fans, and welcome to the Gus here in Waupun as we get ready for some additional American Legion 16U baseball action. Today, still on the championship side, we have Hartford post 19 taking on Beaver Dam post 146. Both of these teams won their first game. They'll still have to play a second game yet today due to the rainout that took place. On Friday. So we got a lot of baseball action that's going to be taking place. Let's set the defense here quickly for Hartford, as the leadoff hitter for Beaver Dam post 146 will be Kyler Keel. He's going to be playing center field. Pitching is going to be Trevor Lang. Catching is Pohl. First shot there is slapped to the right and leads off with a hit. That gets past the right fielder, and that's going to turn into a double. So a single and an error.
Keel leads off the game with a single to right field. Brings up number 2, Braden Strakota. Damon on deck.
Batting is going to be Braden Strakota. Let's finish setting up the defense. Over at first is going to be Majerus. Second is Genders. Fry is at shortstop, and Klages is at third. He's going to hit one to the third shortstop, who's going to fire over to first and loft it, and that's not going to get there. Knocked down by Majerus, as that was Fry. So an infield single goes to Strakota. And now runners are at first and second for Beaver Dam, post 146. Klages is at third. Smith, Brewer, and Wiedmeyer are your defensive outfield for Hartford. Lang delivers. That's a strike. Runners at first and third. Thought they may send Strakota just to see what happens. They did not. Here's the pitch. Hit over to the shortstop. That's going to be a chance to flip the double play. And thrown wide as an error by the second baseman. Run scores and allows the runner to advance to second.
Heel scores on the play. Strakota out at second. Damon advances to second on the throw.
So on the fielder's choice, as the put out at second for the first out, Damon advances on the error. So it's a second error already of the inning I have down for Hartford. There's a second pitch, inside and tight to number 12, Jarek Westover. 1-1 is the count. I believe, I'm not sure, I gotta wait to see. I didn't see it from the umpire. It's going to be hit to the second baseman, fielded there by Genders. He gets the out over at first to Majerus, but the runner advances to third. So Damon sitting at third. Westover grounds out.
Brings up number 4, Jeff Brunton.
4-3 on the putout. Brings up Jeff Freund. He's going to hit one up the middle, and that's going to score another run as Boston Damon's going to come here, and Freund gets a single off of Lang.
Freund with a single up the middle. Scores Damon. Brings up number 3, Jake Jelka.
Brings up number 3, Jake Jilka, the second baseman for Beaver Dam post 146, who already jumped out to a 2-0 lead. That's going to be popped up into the infield. The catcher's calling for it, which doesn't make any sense. So the pitcher does take it, which is Lang, taking it over pole for the out.
Jilka pops up to the pitcher for the final inning.
2 runs are scored on 3 hits, 2 errors, and 1 left on.
2 runs on 3 hits, 2 errors, 1 left on base.
After 1/2 inning, here, the Beaver Dam post 146 scores quickly, puts 2 up on the scoreboard. We'll be back here for the bottom of the first. You're listening to Jeff Sauer here on Jeff's Live Streams.
6 batters.
Welcome back here to the Gus. Leadoff hitter for Hartford post 19 is Reed Genders. He is the second baseman. We'll set the defense here for Beaver Dam. Swing and a foul Beaver Dam on the mound is going to be Freund. Behind the plate is Strakota. Over at first is Hartman. Second is Jilka. Damon is at short, and Westover is in third. Left to right is George, Keel, and Root. That's going to be slapped up into the air right at Keel. He's going to get the first out.
Genders flies out to center for out number 1. Brings up number 26, Parker Wiedmeyer.
Wiedmeyer now up to bat for Hartford. Number 26, he's the right fielder. Here comes the pitch by Freund. Strike to Wiedmeyer. Here's the next pitch. Hit over to the pitcher. Nice job there by Freund to step off the mound and field it and flip it over to Hartman. So Freund to Hartman for the second out.
Rounds out to the pitcher for out number 2.
Yep.
Brings up Bennett Klages.
Number 37, Bennett Klages.
.37 Bennett Klages is the third baseman. Here's the next pitch. A little ball to Klages. Yes. Here's the pitch by Freund. In the dirt low, ball 2. (2-0) with 2 outs to Klages. Here's the next pitch. On the outside edge for a strike, 2-1. 2 down here for Beaver Dam defense. It's going to be fouled off, makes it 2-2. Deuces are wild on the scoreboard. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs, and 2 runs scored by Beaver Dam. Here comes the next pitch to Klages. Breaking ball didn't come in quite as much as Freund was hoping. 3-2. A full count. Here's the pitch. Hit hard in right center. Drops in front of the left fielder. That gets underneath his glove. He's going to stretch it and try and stretch it to a double. Has it. Safe in there on the error. With a single.
With a single to left.
And then an error by the left fielder allows him to advance to second.
Number 7, Brandon Pohl.
Brings up the catcher for Hartford. Number 7, Brandon Pohl. Here's the pitch. On the outside edge for a strike. Thanks for joining the live stream. We appreciate it. Put your stuff in the chat. That one's a little bit high. Let us know who your favorite player is, who you're cheering for, where you're watching from. Freund with the pitch. On the outside edge again, 1-2. Here's the pitch. Slapped over to the right side. Stays fair. It's going to allow the runner to score from second. A nice piece of hitting there by Pohl to take and push that to the right side and get the single.
RBI single. Brings up number 21, Trevor Majerus.
Majerus. Brings up number 21, Trevor Majerus. Strike on the outside edge to Majerus. He's the first baseman. Here's the pitch. Strike 2 right down the middle to Majerus. 0-2. With 2 down here for Beaver Dam. Here's the pitch by Freund. Slap to the right side. That's foul. Still keeps the count at 0-2. Next pitch in the dirt. Nice block there by Strakota to keep it in front of him. 1-2. Pull. Popped up into the air. Second baseman goes back for it and calls it, and that's Jilka, and he gets the out.
Flies up to the second baseman for the third out of the inning.
So 1 run,
Inning for Hartford. 1 run on 2 hits.
2 hits, and 1 error.
1 left on base.
And 1 left on.
How many pitches do you have?
14, 15, 16, 17. I had 18.
That's what I have.
18 pitches in the inning. 18.
18 pitches in that first inning for Freund. And Hartford cuts the lead in half to 2-1, but Beaver Dam with the lead. We'll be back here for the top of the second. You're listening to Jeff Sauer here on Jeff's live stream. Hope you're enjoying the broadcast here from Waupun.
Leading up for Beaver Dam, top of the second, number 9, Carson Franke.
Coming up to bat here for Beaver Dam in the top of the second is number 9, the DH, Carson Franke, who's batting for Leo George, who is the left fielder. First pitch is in there for a ball to Franke. The next pitch by Lang, driven out to right center, and getting a single. Nice play, piece of hitting there by Franke. Puts a runner on first for Beaver Dam.
22, Blake Hartman.
Brings up the first baseman for Beaver Dam, post 146, number 22, Blake Hartman. Here's the pitch. In there for a strike. Lang throws a lot of strikes so far from what I've seen, and Beaver Dam's been very aggressive at hitting. They've been going right after that first pitch. Here's the second pitch. Outside a little bit, maybe high. Ball 1-1 to Hartman. Franke still over at first. Slap to the right-hand side. Foul from Hartman. Makes the count 1-2. Carson Franke sitting at first base. Here's the pitch. Hit right up the off of the pitcher. That's going to be a stinger there. Tried to field it by the second baseman, unable to do so. So he's going to reach on that infield hit.
Hartman with an infield single. Brings up number 10, Aiden Root.
Allows Franke to get to second. Hard hit ball right at the pitcher. Second baseman unable to get to it. See if he's okay out there. He's got hit in the ankle. It's not complaining anything, so here's the pitch. Bunt opportunity there from Aiden Root, the right fielder. Just didn't execute. Sends everybody back to their bases. Strike 1 for Root. Here's the next pitch. Bunts that one, lays it down perfectly. Pitcher fields it, throws over to first to get the out. Advances the runner, so does his job as a sacrifice.
Advances the runners. Brings up number 15, Kyler Keel.
Brings up the top of the lineup here for Beaver Dam post 146, number 15, Kyler Keel. He had a single and scored in the first inning. He is the center fielder. So runners are at second and third for Keel. He goes after that first pitch and ends up fouling it back. Nice job there by Aiden Root to lay that bunt down. Runners at second and third. Here's the pitch. Fouls that one off. 0-2 to Keel. Runners at second and third. Trevor Lang on the mound for Hartford. Post 119 or 19. That one's hit hard down the left field line. Missing it. It was a good hard hit. That's going to score 2 runs on the double. Shortstop's going to throw home, try and get the tag. He's underneath it. He's safe, and that allows the runner to advance to third. So a nice job there by Kyler Keel.
RBI double. Advances third on the throw.
Scoring those 2 runs and advancing to third on the throw after a nice double right down the left field line. Brings up Braden Strakota. Strakota. First pitch into him is a ball. Strakota also had a hit. Hit that one on the ground. Shortstop. Picks it up. Fires over to first. Good job there getting it over to Majerus from Fry. Good quick hands. And gets the put out for the second out. But gets the RBI as the run scores.
Comes out for the second out of the inning. Keel scores on the play. Brings up number 5, Boston Damon.
Brings up the shortstop, Boston Damon, number 5. Hit into a fielder's choice, but did score as well. First pitch into him is a ball. Trevor Lang on the pitch. Fouled back by Boston Damon. 1-1. Two down here for Hartford. Here's the pitch. Slap to the right-hand side. Just foul. Makes it 1-2. Beaver Dam jumping out to a 5-1 lead so far here. Here's the pitch. Gets him swinging for the out.
Damon goes down swinging to the third out of the inning.
2, 3.
In the inning for Beaver Dam, 3 runs.
3 runs on 3 hits. 1 error.
1 error, and no one left on base.
And nobody left on. After 1.5, Beaver Dam with a 5-1 lead.
17 pitches in the inning for Lane, total of 26.
17 for Lang in that inning, total of 26 pitches. So it's very efficient pitching, but Beaver Dam has been very aggressive at the bat. We'll be back here for the bottom of the second when Hartford post 19. Welcome back here to the Gus in Waupun, Wisconsin. American Legion 16U regional tournaments. These two teams are undefeated. Beaver Dam post 146 and Hartford post 19. Up to bat for Hartford in the bottom of the second. Trevor Lang, the pitcher. Freundon is the pitcher for Beaver Dam. He's down 0-2 to Lang here in the second. That's going to be popped foul. 2-1 is the count. Here comes the pitch. Pop foul again on the check swing. Makes it 2-2. Go ahead and make sure you put in the chat where you're watching from, who you're cheering for, who's your favorite player. Like to see stuff put in there. The kids go back, and a swing and a strikeout for Freund.
Strikes out for the first out of the inning. Brings up number 10, Aiden Fry.
Brings up the shortstop now here for Hartford, Aiden Fry. Here's the pitch by Freund. Gets a strike in the first pitch. Next pitch just a little bit high by Freund. 1-1 to Aiden Fry. One out here so far in the bottom of the second. Strike 2 by Freund. Here comes the pitch. And strikes him out for the second strikeout of the inning. It's going to bring up number 20, Parker Smith.
Brings up for the second out. Brings up left fielder number 20, Parker Smith.
Parker Smith, the left fielder here. Here's the pitch by Freund. Little bit low for a ball. Seeing the scoreboard in the upper right-hand corner. Strike 1, to Parker Smith, 1-1. There's Freund again to deliver. It's a ball on the outside. 2-1. Here comes the pitch. And gets him swinging. 3 up, 3. That's only the second one. My fault. 2-2 is the count. Little over anxious there to get out of the inning. There it is. Third strike. Swinging. So 3 up, 3 down, 3 strikeouts.
No runs, no hits, no errors, no one left on.
No runs on no hits, no errors, and nobody left on. 14 for Freund in that inning.
For a total of 32.
32 total so far. After 2 complete here from the Gus, Beaver Dam post 146 with a 5-1 lead over Hartford post 19. We'll be back for the top of the third. You're listening to Jeff Sauer here on Jeff's live stream. Jarek Westover leading off. Takes a hack at that first one for a strike. Just fouled it off. Left-handed hitter for Beaver Dam in the number 4 spot. Here's the next pitch. Ball a little bit high. Westover grounded out to the second baseman in the first inning. Ooh, looked like a good pitch there, but a ball. 2-1. Here's the pitch. Slapped to the left-hand side, out to the left field, and gets the single.
Westover with a single to left to start the inning. Brings up pitcher number 4, Jeff Freund.
So a single for Westover puts a runner once again on. That's both innings they have had their leadoff hitter on base for Beaver Dam. Here's the pitch. Ball to Jeff Freund, the pitcher for Beaver Dam. Here's the pitch by Lang. Hit right at the second or shortstop, but over his head, rolls out into left center. And another single for Freund. It's his second hit of the game. Advances the runner now at first and second.
Number 3, Jake Jolka.
He's going to bring up the second baseman, Jake Jilka. Blaze down the bunt. Picked up there by Lang. Fires the first to get the out, but moves the runners over to second and third. Does a nice job with his sacrifice.
Jolka advances the runners with the sacrifice bunt. Now batting the DH, number 9, Carson Franke.
Franke up to bat. Now for Beaver Dam. He pops it up. Nope, drops. Fired over to short. Gets him. He's safe as the first baseman pulled his foot. Fry pulled his foot over there at first. Franke beat out there. It was pretty close there. Anyways, Fry let that little popper drop. Here's the pitch. Quickly working. That's going to be popped up. And they're going to fire over to third and double him off, and a running error here for Beaver Dam. on the infield
Hartman
pop,
pops up to the pitcher.
and Westover gets thrown out.
The third out of the inning. In the inning for Beaver Dam. No runs on 3 hits. No errors. 2 left on base. 9 pitches in the inning for Lang for a total of 35.
Lang doing a good job with his pitch count here. Beaver Dam being very aggressive as hitters. That time they're a little bit too aggressive on the base pads. Gets put out at third base after the pop-up bunt attempt by Hartman. After 2.5 complete, your score is 5-1. We'll be back here for the bottom of the third. Leading it off is going to be number 15, Dylan Brewer. And then the top of the order, Reed Genders and Parker Widmeyer. Here's the pitch by Freund into Dylan Brewer. 0-1 is the count here in the bottom of the third inning. Hartford trailing. Strike 2 on that foul off. Here comes the next pitch by Freund. Strike 3 looking, got him on that inside edge. Nice pitch there by Freund to get Brewer. Brings up number 13, the second baseman for Hartford, post 19, Reed Genders. Here comes the pitch by Freund. In there for a strike, so continuing his ways. He's been very efficient, always been throwing a first pitch strike most of the time so far. Here's the next pitch. In a little bit inside for a ball, 1-1. Both of these pitchers work very fast as soon as they're ready to go. They just get rolling here. That's going to be slapped over to right field, and it's going to be picked off there by Aiden Root for the second out.
Genders flies out to right for out number 2. Now batting, right fielder Parker Wiedmeyer.
Going to bring up number 26, Parker Wiedmeyer. Here's the next pitch there by Freund. Strike on the outside edge. Fouls that one off for another strike. 0-2 to Wiedmeyer. Wiedmeyer grounded out to the pitcher in the first. Breaking ball missing a little bit high. Didn't come down, I think, as much as Freund was hoping. Here's the next pitch. Right down the middle, but a little bit low, makes it 2-2 for the left-handed pitcher from Beaver Dam. Post 146. Here comes the pitch. Hit over to the second baseman. He's going to field that cleanly as Jilka, and he fires over to Hartman to get the out. 4-3 for the final putout. No runs, no hits, no errors, and nobody left on for Hartford post 19. I'm down for 11 pitches. 43 total for Freund after 3.
After 3 innings, score remains
3
5.
complete innings here at the Gus. 5-1. Beaver Dam post 146 with a lead over Hartford. Both of these teams won. The winner will stay undefeated. It's a double elimination tournament. Lose twice and you're out. Both of these teams will be playing again. The winner will be playing at 7. The loser, I believe, plays at 4:45. have to double check that.
4:45. You are correct.
Okay. And they'll be taking on, the loser will be taking on Horicon, who lost their first game
What's that?
with the rain. We'll be back here for the top of the fourth. Here to the Gus, new pitcher, popped up to second base is Aiden Root, the hitter for Beaver Dam.
To second base for the first start of the inning.
Here in the fourth.
Brings up number 15, Kyler Keel.
The new pitcher is the previous catcher, Brandon Pohl. And then moving to catcher is going to be the left fielder, Parker Smith. And moving out to left will be Trevor Lang. So first out on the pop-up. Good breaking ball there to Kyler Keel, leadoff hitter, for a ball. Next pitch, working quickly. That's a little over the catcher's head. That's a ball. Three and 0. Next pitch in is another ball. Good eye for Kyler Keel. Here's the next pitch by Pohl. Right down the middle for a strike, 3-1. Didn't like the call on the last one. Here's the pitch. Gets him swinging for strike 2. Gets the walk.
Keel draws a walk. Brings up the catcher number 2, Braden Strakota.
Brings up now for Beaver Dam, number 2, the catcher, Braden Strakota. Single in the first, grounded out in the second. Strike to Strakota. Beaver Dam with another runner on. Throw over to first. Almost got him. Nice move there by Pohl quickly. Diving back in is Keel. Here comes the pitch by Pohl. Breaking ball on the outside. Knocked down nicely by Smith. Thought Strakota offered at it, but no call. 1-1. One ball, one strike, one out. That's high to Strakota. Ball 2, 2-1. Here comes the next pitch by Pohl. That's also high, 3-1 now to Strakota. Kyler Keel over at first. Here's the pitch by Pohl. Pop fly over to the right-hand side, out of play for a strike. 3-2. Full count with one out to Strakota. Throw over again to Keel. Back in diving. Here's the pitch. Keel takes off. Strike as he gets caught with the curveball. Strikeout for Strakota, but Keel is still able to advance to second.
Strakota strikes out for the second out of the inning. Keel steals second. Brings up number 5, Boston Damon.
Brings up the number 3 hitter for Beaver Dam. That's going to be Boston Damon. Dual rostered players we were talking about a little bit earlier. He's going to have a decision maybe to make. That's a strike, 1-1 to Damon. Keel over at second. Pohl ready to deliver. In the dirt, gets behind. And that's going to allow the runner to advance to third. So runner in scoring position still
Advances to third on
for
the next
Beaver
ball.
Dam. First time they was shut down was in the last inning. Pole ready to deliver the next pitch. Here's the pitch. Slap foul by Damon. Here comes the next pitch by Pole. Hit over to the shortstop, fielded cleanly by Fry, flips over to first over Majerus and gets the out.
Demon grounds out to the shortstop for the third out of the inning. No runs on no hits. No errors.
No runs, no hits, no errors, and one left on. After 3.5 here from the Gus, Beaver Dam post 146-5, and Hartford post 19-1. Welcome back here to the Gus as we get ready here for the bottom of the fourth inning. New pitcher for Beaver Dam is Boston Damon. 2-1 is the count to number 37, Bennett Clagus. Entering in third, that's a ball by Damon. 3-1 to Clagus. Defensively coming in is Halfman. Ashton Halfman comes in at third. Westover moves over to shortstop with Damon coming in to pitch. Freund is out, and that's going to be the walk issued to Clagus.
Clagus draws a walk to lead off the inning. Now batting number 7, Brandon Pohl.
So Freund ends with 43 pitches. Damon throws over quickly. Here's the pitch. In there for a strike to Brandon Pohl.
And Halfman's playing third now?
Yeah. Did not like that call for Pohl as he was pitching and catching already. That's another strike. 0-2. Westover slipped it over to shortstop. So Clagus over at first for Hartford, trying to get something rolling here in this inning. Damon fires. That's a little bit low for a ball. 2-2. Oh, sorry, take that back. 1-2. Here's the next pitch. Slaps that one out to the right second baseman. Fields it. That's going to be Jilka to get the out over at first. Knew he couldn't get Klages, so Klages advances on the fielder's choice.
Cole rounds out for the first out of the inning. Brings up number 21, Trevor Majerus.
Majerus.
I'm going to screw that up until the last bat.
Trevor Majerus now up to bat. Klages is over at second. First pitch in there by Boston Damon is a strike. Beautiful day for baseball again here at the Gus. If you have a chance, come on down here in Waupun. That's going to be slapped out to right field. Aiden Root trying to come in on it. Misses it. It's a good drop in there. He's going to try and score. They throw home, which was a huge mistake, and allows the runner to advance. So Majerus on the single. Advances on the throw. And Klages comes in and scores. So a nice play there by good running by Klages. Little indecisive there by Root. Allows for Majerus to move all the way over to second. Brings up Trevor Lang. Was the pitcher, but ended up sliding out to left field. 1 out, 1-1 is the count. To Lang. Damon ready to fire. In there for a strike. 1-2 with 1 out. Here comes the pitch. In the dirt. Good block there by Strakota. 2-2. Here comes the pitch from Damon. Breaking ball. That's going to be popped up into the air over to the new third baseman, Hartman. He's going to get underneath it and get the out.
Lane pops up to third. The second out of the inning. Brings up number 10, Aiden Fry.
So Majerus is stuck at second on that infield fly ball. Brings up number 10, Aiden Fry. He's going to drive it over to the second baseman who fields it. Jilka flips it over to Hartman. Nice play there by Jilka on the first pitch. Good defensive play there. 1 run scored on 1 hit. No errors and 1 left on.
No errors, 1 left on. 17 pitches for Damon.
17 pitches for Boston Damon. After 4 complete here at the Gus in Waupun, Beaver Dam still holds on to a 3-run lead over Hartford post 19. 5-2. We'll be back here for the top of the 5th. You're listening to Jeff Sauer here on Jeff's Live Streams. Welcome back here to the Gus, top of the 5th inning. Brandon Pohl still the pitcher for Hartford. Up to bat for Beaver Dam is number 12. Now the shortstop, Jarek Westover. Slaps that one to the left-hand side, foul, trying to give chase. Just out of play for the third baseman. Brings it 1-1.
14-2.
Here comes the next pitch from Pohl. It's in there for a strike. 1-2.
Nice breaking ball.
Here's the next pitch. Slapped by Westover towards the left-hand side. Second baseman fields it and fires it quickly as that was Genders to Majerus.
Rounds out to second for the first out of the inning.
Good play there by
Brings up
Genders to quickly snap that off.
Hartman.
Or not.
Number 4, Jeff Brown.
Re-entering. Freund is re-entering.
Must be.
Or did he not go out? I mean, I don't have no idea.
Hartman was coming in, unless Hartman came in for someone else. I don't know who Hartman came in for then.
He said something for 2, didn't he? I
Oh,
For Strakota?
Chris Dakota, the catcher.
thought he said 2. I could be wrong.
I guess we'll have to check that out.
Yeah.
Couldn't have been because Strakota was catching the last inning. Breaking ball, nice pitch there, but it's 1-1 to Freund. So I'm not sure how some of the defensive switches do help us make sure we can keep track. That's a strike. 1-2 to Freund. Freund asks for time, gets it, steps off. Two and two. It's going to be popped up in the air to right field, and he's going to fly out for the first out.
Bruins lines up to right for the second out of the inning.
For the second out, brings up number 3, Jake Jilka.
Now batting number 3, Jake Jilka.
So still trying to figure out how Hartman came in, unless I have to see if we can figure that out, because I know Strakota caught the last inning, so not sure how that all worked out. It's driven out to left center, but the center fielder's able to get there and catch it for the third out.
Lines out to center for the third out of the inning.
No runs, no hits, no errors, and nobody left on.
Left on base for Beaver Dam in the
After 4.5 complete, the score is 5-2. So let's see if we can figure out Freund.
pitches in the inning for Cole, total of 30.
Freund is going out to left field, so he must have came in for George, which meant he would have come in for Leo George. What number is Leo George?
13.
12.
Yeah, so he must have come in for number 13.
Okay.
Right? Because Hartman must have come in for George. Or for the D. No, he couldn't have.
Could have. Well, he could have, but then the DH.
But then the DH would have been off, right?
Yeah.
He can still, if he comes in for a DH, he just hit.
Yeah, but then Freund couldn't hit for himself, could he?
Well, so who was he DH for?
George, the left fielder, but that's where Freund just went to. Boston Damon back on the mound for Beaver Dam. First 3 pitches he threw here in this inning to number 20, Parker Smith, is 3 balls in a row. That next one is in there for a strike, makes the count 3-1. Trying to figure out how he made some switches here for the coach, so we're going to check that out. Ground ball right over to Damon. Damon walks it over to Hartman. And it's safe. Safe. He calls him safe. He is. Damon does it himself. That's a huge error. I don't know how even. It's an infield hit, but I guess.
Infield hit to start the fifth.
Wow.
Brings up number 13, Reed Genders.
Well, yeah, what was that kid?
I don't understand why he did not throw it over to first. That is just a silly play by Boston Damon to not throw it over to Hartman. Next pitch is in there for a ball. They had the easy out. Instead, Parker Smith with an infield single now is at first base. Nobody out, and it adds to the pitch count here. 1-1 to Dylan Brewer. Number 15, the center fielder. Throws over to first. Parker Smith dives back in. Strike two to the number 9 hitter in the lineup, Dylan Brewer. Hartford trying to whittle away at this lead. They have a 5-2 lead. Winner plays at 7. Loser will play at 4:45. Breaking ball high. 2-2. Ooh, that looked like that might have been a strike, but a little bit inside. Now it's a full count to Brewer. Here's the pitch. Strike. Goes down looking.
Brewer strikes out for the first out of the inning.
For the first out.
Brings up number 13, Reed Genders.
Brings up number 13, Reed Genders. The leadoff hitter here for Hartford. Flew out to center, flew out to right. Ball on the outside. Runner still over at first base. Here comes the next pitch by Damon. That's also low for a ball. 2-0 for Genders. Here comes the pitch. That's a breaking ball in there for a strike. 2-1. Damon ready to deliver. Hit foul. Brings it to 2-2. Reed Genders at bat. Boston Damon the pitcher. Ready to hit. Hit to the shortstop. Good job there flipping it for 1 out. Nice play there by Westover as it kind of hopped up and hit him in the chest. On the fielder's choice, he gets the out. So Genders switches places with Smith for the second out. Genders is over at first. Brings up number 26, Parker Wiedmeyer. Threw over by Damon. Almost had him there. As Genders didn't dive back in. Taken off. Strakota fires. Had it off of the tip of the second baseman. He's going to take off from second to third. They fire. Throw the ball around, and they're going to give him a chance to score a run. And comes Hartford and gets in as he runs over Strakota. And several throwing errors. 1, 2, 3.
Scores for Hartford on the throwing errors.
I have 3 errors for that. As they cut the lead now down to 2, 5-3. Looking to see what the count is. 2 down. Here's the pitch. Strike by Damon on the outside. Must be correct because Randy's not showing it. 1-1. 1 and 2.
George, basically. He's got to get DH for.
Oh, he's still getting DH for it?
Yep.
Okay.
And strikeout looking.
Wiedmeyer strikes out.
What
Third
was-
out of the inning.
I did.
37.
Welcome back here to the Gus as we get ready here for the top of the 6th. Carson Franke, the DH. He's DHing now for Hartman, who came in for George. 2-0 is the count already. It's a ball. 3-0 to Franke. Fouls that one off. 3-1. Beaver Dam holding on to a 2-run lead, 5-3. Going here into the top of the 6th. Oh.
Wow.
So that would be his 4th?
That'd be ball 4.
I don't know. I can't ever see his fingers.
3-1 now.
3-1. Hit up the middle to the shortstop. Fielded it easily. There is Fry. Flips it over to Majerus and gets the out.
Rocky rounds out the short for the first out of the inning. Brings up number 22, Blake Hartman. Roots at left.
Brings up number 22, the first baseman, Blake Hartman. Hartman had a single in the 2nd and then flew out to the pitcher on a bunt attempt. First pitch there by Pohl is in there for a strike. To Blake Hartman. Here's the next pitch. Breaking ball just a little bit high, 1-1. Here comes the pitch. Slap foul to the right-hand side, 1-2. Here comes the pitch by Pohl. In the dirt for a ball. 2-2 to Hartman with 1 out. Here comes the pitch. Whoa. Behind him. 3-2. Here comes the pitch by Pohl. On the outside, breaking ball for a strike, and he gets him swinging for the 2nd out.
Hartman strikes out for the second out of the inning.
Brings out number 10, Aiden Root.
Right fielder number 10, Aiden Root.
Kyler Keel is on deck. Here's the pitch by Pohl. Hit hard right up the middle by Aiden Root for a single. Gets a runner on.
The single up the middle.
Beaver Dam trying to get something going here again to stretch their lead back.
Number 15, Kyler Keel.
Number 15, Kyler Keel up to bat. Strakota will be on deck. 2 down. Root over at first base. Throw over. Here comes the pitch to Keel. Swing and a miss for a strike. 0-1. Here comes the next pitch by Pohl. Fouls that one off. Ahead of the count now here for Pohl, 0-2. Keel has been on all 3 times that he's been up to bat.
Is that the other half?
I don't think so.
Hey, Derek just have 2 games today? They just have 2 games today?
Here's the pitch.
Play at 5:30.
Pops that up with 2 outs. Second baseman goes and getting that's Genders, and he catches it for the out.
Pops out to second.
For the 3rd out. No runs, 1 hit,
No errors,
No errors and 1 left on here after 5.5 complete. 5-3, Beaver Dam post 146 with a lead over Hartford post 19. Welcome back here to the Gus. Boston Damon pitching out to number 37 to Clagus. So 7 pitches to Clagus. Here's the next pitch. Hit off to the left or right-hand side, right at Aiden Root, who gets the fly out for the first out.
Flies out for the first out of the inning. Brings up number 7, Brandon Poole.
Coming up now is the pitcher for Hartford, post 19, Brandon Pohl. The only thing I can figure out is if we miss some foul balls. I didn't know of any. I mean, it's hard because I can't pick up Bresser's signals. So 1-0 to Brandon Pohl. Next one is in there for a strike, 1-1. Because I can only see one hand because he puts him so far close in front of him. I can't see what he's. Here's the next pitch. Breaking ball didn't break, 2-1. I did. Here's the next pitch. Down in the dirt, 3-1. Here comes the next pitch. Strike on the outside edge, 3-2. To Brandon Pohl. Had a single in the first, fielder's choice in the fourth. Here's the next pitch by Damon. Gets the walk.
Poole draws the walk. Brings up number 21, Trevor Majerus.
Brings up Trevor Majerus, number 21, the first baseman. Hartford trying to cut this thing down. Damon throws over to Hartman. Pohl is back in there safe. Only one out here, runner at first. Pitch down low for a ball. Next one is in there for a ball. Damon throws over. Pohl dives back in. 2-0. Here's the pitch. Slap foul by Majerus. It's at 2-1. Here's the pitch. Right on the outside edge. Full count, or 2-2, to Majerus with one out. Brandon Pohl sitting over at first base. Here's the pitch. Slapped right to Damon. This time he fires it to Hartman to get the out quickly.
Majerus rounds out to the pitcher for out number 2.
For the second out, allows for Pohl to move on the fielder's choice. Runner over at second is Brandon Pohl. Here's the pitch by Boston Damon. Outside for a ball. Here's the next pitch. Pop foul. To number 19, Trevor Lang. 1-1. Beaver Dam clinging to a 2-run lead here in the dirt. Nice block there by Strakota. 2-1 to not allow Pohl to advance over to third. Here comes the pitch. High and inside. Ball 3, 3-1. Here's the pitch to Trevor Lang. Flew out to the right-hand side. Aiden Root calls for it and gets the out.
Lang flies out to the right fielder for the third out of the inning.
No runs on no hits,
In the inning,
no errors,
runs
and
on
one left
no
on.
errors and one left on.
Should see what Hartford has for
I have 24 for this.
24.
That's what I have. Welcome back here to the Gus. Top of the 7th. Breaking ball there. Nice breaking ball by Pohl for a strike to the leadoff hitter here for Beaver Dam, Braden Strakota. 5-3 is the lead here for Beaver Dam. They'd like to add a couple more insurance runs. That's going to be hit on the ground to the shortstop. Fry bobbles it a little bit, and then it throws it wide. So an error on the shortstop as Strakota is able to reach, but it's going to be an E6.
Strakota reaches on the air. Brings up number 5, Boston Beaver.
But I think what's more important here for Beaver Dam is they have a leadoff runner on once again to see if they can stretch it out. Brings up number 3 hitter, number 5, Boston Damon. Here's the pitch. Breaking ball in there for a strike. Pohl's got this breaking ball working really well. Throws over. Damon is in standing up. Here's the next pitch. Breaking ball. That one's a little bit high. 1-1. That time you could see Pohl drop down a little bit to put a little bit more sidearm on it. Fastball fouled off by Damon. 1-2 is the count. Here comes the pitch by Pohl. Gets away from the catcher, Smith, and that's going to allow Strakota to move over to second to get out of the force, which is even more beneficial for Beaver Dam. Here's the pitch. Ball. Is it 3-2?
Yep.
Parker Smith had his thumb bent back on that one. Here comes the pitch. Foul, or strike out of the glove of Smith. He fires down to 1. Is safe. So I think Majerus must have pulled his foot once again, maybe.
Strikes out, but is safe at first on the pass ball.
And it allows for Strakota to advance to third. So runners now at first and third.
12, Jarek Westover.
Brings up Jarek Westover in there for a ball. Looks like a good pitch from Pohl. Starting out with a breaking ball once again. Here's the pitch. In there for a strike. 1-1. Runners again at first and third. Nobody out. Gets away from the catcher, but not enough for Strakota to score, but it does allow for Damon to get down and take the force out of play. So 2-1 is the count to Jarek Westover, who has 1 hit already in the game at his 4th at bat. Seeing if he can come through as the number 4 hitter in the lineup. Strike at that one. A little bit of a changeup there that looked like from Pohl. 2-2. Here's the pitch. Fouls that one off.
Yeah. Wasn't that pathetic?
You're not going to dig up the turf.
2-2. Nobody out. Runners at second and third. Here's Westover. Pole steps off. Gets reset. Westover decides just to stay in there. Here comes the pitch by Pole. Breaking ball. Fouled again off to the right-hand side. Keeps it at 2-2. Here comes the pitch by Pole. Outside and high. Gets it to a full count.
13.
Here comes the pitch. Outside. Runner's going to try and score. Strakota gets in there on the pass ball for the insurance run.
Westover draws the walk.
Damon advances to third.
Dakota scores on the pass ball.
I had him for 16 pitches in this inning.
16?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, yep. No, I didn't have the first one. You're right.
Strike by number 4, Jeff Freund. Pole throws that pitch in there. Runners at first and third. On the outside edge for strike 2 to Freund. Strakota scores on that pass ball. Gets that lead out to 6-3. That insurance run might be exactly what Beaver Dam needed here in the 7th. Throw over to first. Westover dives back in. Fouled off by Freund. Pole with the pitch called. Here is the delivery. Breaking ball away on the outside for a ball. 1-2. Nobody out still in this inning as Strakota started it out. Was an error by the shortstop and was able to come around and score. That's going to be off the end of the bat, pop to the right-hand side, out of play. Throw over it again over to Westover. Here's the pitch by Pole. Breaking ball off the end of the bat. Popped into fair territory. Picked up by the first baseman to get the first out. Holds the runners. It's going to bring up Jake Julka, number 3. He's the second baseman.
Number 3, Jake Julka.
Westover getting in the head over there of Pole. It looks like, at least. Continues to look over there. Here's the pitch. Takes off. And is up, standing up is Westover for stolen base.
Westover steals second.
He's supposed to be bunting.
Joka with the sign. 1-0.
Now everyone knows.
Here's the pitch. On the outside, tried to block it. It does a nice job there of getting into it in a hurry is Parker Smith. That's ball 2 to Jilka. Boston Damon over at third. Jarek Westover at second for Beaver Dam. Here comes the pitch. Right down the middle for a strike, 2-1. It's your runners. Suicide bunt. Pushed it wide to the right. You're not understanding when you have a 3-run lead why you would do that.
Just apply a little pressure to him, maybe.
2-2 is the count now with 1 out. Here's the pitch. Fouled off by Jilka on that breaking ball. Nice pitch again there by Brandon Pohl. Runners at second and third. Here's the pitch. Fouled off on the right-hand side by Jilka. Still keeps it at 2-2. Here comes the next pitch here for Brandon Pohl. Down the middle. Jilka flies that one off to the right-hand side. Going to pick it up as the first baseman. Gets that fly ball for his second out here in the inning. Holds the runners. It's going to bring up number 9, Carson Franke.
Brings up the DH, number 9, Carson Franke.
Two down here for Beaver Dam. Stepping out. Asking for time as Pohl was taking a little bit longer than he wanted. So Franke steps out. Brandon Pohl ready to deliver. First pitch in there for a strike. In there for a strike again. Ahead 0-2 on Franke, the DH. Here comes the pitch. A little bit high and outside for a ball. 1-2. Still runners at second and third for Beaver Dam, post 146. Here comes the pitch by Pohl. A little bit high, ball 2. 2-2 to Franke. Here comes the next pitch. Fouled off to the right-hand side. Keeps the count at 2-2 with 2 balls, 2 strikes, and 2 outs. Deuces are wild. Here's the pitch. Breaking ball, got him, froze him there for the strikeout. For the third out.
In the inning for Beaver Dam.
1 run.
No hits.
No hits, 1 error, and 2 left on. Oh, 2 errors, yep. Thank you. And 2 left on. After 6.5 complete, your score is 6-3. Beaver Dam post 146 with a lead over Hartford post 19. Coming up to bat to see if they can do something about it. We'll be back.
32.
Welcome back here to the Gus. Last chance for Hartford to try and get this thing tied up and move. A chance to move on the winning side. Brings up number 10, Aiden Fry. On deck will be Parker Smith. Boston Damon is the pitcher of record right now for Beaver Dam. Dylan Brewer is in the hole. So it's 7, 8, and 9 hitters for Hartford. 1-1 to Fry. Here comes the pitch. Little bit low. 2-1. Hartford needs to push 3 across to push this to another inning. Fouled off to the right-hand side. 2-2.
65, you said, right?
Yep.
Slapped over there to the second baseman. That's going to be Jilka who's going to get the out. 1 down, 2 more outs for the Beaver Dam to advance.
Now batting number 20, Parker Smith.
Brings up the catcher, number 20, Parker Smith.
65, you said, or 66?
Tries to bunt. That one's going to go foul.
He's over 61.
They need to get runners.
66 now.
Here comes the next pitch by Boston Damon. Little bit high. 1-1 to Smith. Here's the pitch. Outside for a ball. 2-1. Here comes the next pitch. Right down the middle for a strike. 2-2. Hartford 2 outs away. That's going to be popped up. Center fielder has it all the way. That's Keel. He calls it and gets the out.
Smith flies out to center
For the second out, it's going to bring up the number 9 hitter, number 15, Dylan Brewer.
Now batting number 15, Dylan Brewer.
Hartford down to their last out. Fouled that one off on a strike pitch by Boston Damon. Hit right back up the middle of the line drive, and Brewer does his job and gets on base with a single. It's his first hit of the day. It struck out the previous 2 times, so he comes through, brings it to the top of the order. That's exactly what you want. Reed Genders. Genders is still looking for his first hit.
Number 13, Reed Genders.
And behind him is Parker Widmeyer, who's also looking for his first hit. So the first 2 hitters haven't gotten a hit. Here's the pitch on the outside edge for a strike to Genders, the second baseman for Hartford. Here's the next pitch. Fouled off to the right-hand side, trying to go get it. Out of play was Root, unable to track it down, but he's down 0-2, so down to their last strike right here. 0-2 is the count with 2 outs. Dylan Brewer sitting over on first base. Defense is set here for Beaver Dam. Here's the pitch. Outside for a ball. 1-2. Comes the next pitch. Gets him swinging and the strikeout, and that's going to do it as Beaver Dam is going to advance on the winning side. No runs on 1 hit, no error, and nobody left, or and 1 left on.
Beaver Dam 6.
Beaver Dam post 146, 6. Hartford post 19,
Today, Beaver Dam will play at
3.
7 o'clock today.
So Beaver Dam will be taking on Watertown in the typically what's their winning side championship game, but because it's a double elimination, the 2 teams that are undefeated, let's put it that way, they'll be playing at 7 o'clock tonight, and at 4:45 will be Hartford, who will be taking on Horicon at 4:45. So congratulations to Beaver Dam Post 146. Moving on with the victory, 6-3 over Hartford Post 19. We'll be back here on the air at 2:15. 2:30 is the next start game. 2:30. We'll be back on air, so a little bit over a half an hour between Oconomowoc and Kettle Moraine, I believe, will be taking on each other in this next game. You've been listening to Jeff Sauer here on Jeff's live stream. Hope you've enjoyed the broadcast. We'll be back shortly. Take care. God bless. And I can't